smoky, crusty, and super beefy reverse sear tri-tip, this is seriously the best. It's so easy to cook, and the reverse sear process makes sure that you get perfect temperature every time. This recipe is a quick one. I hope you're hungry because you can get right to it. You go watch, I'm gonna eat steak right off the cutting board. Behold, I present to you this tri-tip. Before we season up, I want to talk about the grain structure. That way you don't mess it up when you slice it. So let's take a look. The muscles go the lengthwise of this little section here, which makes it really easy when you're slicing. You can just cut perpendicular all the way, and then the grain starts to change. So when we're about to slice at the end, I'll show you, we'll want to cut it right in half, and then we'll actually rotate the blade and slice it a slightly different direction. So just pay attention right now before you apply your seasoning to where the grains are, and then take note. All right, let's go ahead and season up this bad boy. I'm gonna use hot sauce as a binder just to add some extra flavor. Now, I wouldn't recommend using this if you were planning on doing a dry brine, which means that you'd be seasoning this and letting it sit in the fridge, because the vinegar will tenderize the outside layer of the meat, and you don't want a funny texture on your steak. So I'm gonna go ahead and just apply this on both sides. This is a really unique hot sauce. You probably noticed that it's black. It is a charred chili, black garlic, and lime hot sauce. It's got some really great flavor. This is one of the hot sauces from Fire that I really like. Then I'm gonna go ahead and use my Canyon Crust rub. This is gonna make a really great crust and bark on the outside. Okay, I'll season on all sides here. Man, this smells so good already with that black garlic and that lime. All right, I'm gonna let this hang out while I heat up the grill. All right, we'll make a little pile on the side. Let's add a little oak. Get the grill grate on there. All right, the temperature is right around 275. It could be a little lower for smoking, but that's okay. Once I close the lid, I can make those adjustments. So I've got a little bit more of the fat side towards the flames. I'm gonna go ahead and close this and make sure the vent is away from the heat on this side. That way the smoke flows. For the smoking phase, my target temperature is going to be about 115 to 118. That way we know we're about 10 degrees from our finished temperature, and then we can go ahead and sear. Well, now that I got downtime, I guess it's beer time. See ya. All right, we are back. It's been about 35, 40 minutes or so. Let's check the temp real quick. All right, so we're getting close. I think what I'll do is I'm gonna flip it over, and then we'll come back. All right, here we go. Probably gonna give another 15 minutes. All right, finally, we're seeing the teens. That's where we wanna be. So let's go ahead and leave the lid off so we can sear. Don't worry, I didn't forget. All right, let's throw this right over the coals. Get a good sizzle. And after just a minute, I'm gonna go ahead and flip. I flip often because I like to control the momentum of how this cooks on each side. I don't want any side to get too dark. You also have to watch the smaller end over here because this can tend to overcook. All right, I'm gonna flip and then leave the small side out from the direct heat. I think tri-tip is best sear over coals, not cast iron, because that heat gets up on all the sides and builds a better crust. We'll just keep flipping. The nice thing about having two zones over here is if you're not sure how hot the steak is, you can always move it to the cool zone and then check the temperature. Let's take a peek. We got right around that 125, probably just a couple more flips. Go ahead and sear the side for just a second. Woo-wee! That is epic. Let's go ahead and rest it. All right, the tri-tip has been resting for about 15-20 minutes, and it's pretty cool. You could still see the grain structure, which really helps out. It's not always the case, but let's go ahead and slice through. So I'm gonna find this middle point right here. That's basically where the easiest way is to start cutting this. And I'm gonna cut a perpendicular to the grain right here. Let's see. Whew, that's a juice bomb, I can tell. All right, the big reveal. Oh, that looks good. Check that out. Perfectly pink. It's got all that delicious marbled fat. Okay, let's go ahead and slice up this guy. We're gonna go right against the grain, and I'll try to get some decently sized slices here. And You know, it's just how it is with live fire. You're always going to kind of overcook the smaller part of the steak, and that's okay. Just call those the chef treats. And as soon as we start getting into where it's a little thicker, like right here, it's going to be perfect temperature. Let's check this out. There we go. Perfectly pink. It's going to darken as it sits here and cools off a little bit. Tri-tip is really one of my top cuts of beef. All right, let's go ahead and I'll show you how to slice the second half. So you can see in the camera that the grains are running this way. So your first couple cuts might look a little awkward just because we're cutting right into the meat, the exposed meat, but that's really why we want to turn it this way and then go ahead and slice. I'm going to do a little thicker cut here. There we go. Then we'll get into it, and you can see we're still cutting against the grain. I can probably angle my knife even a little bit more to get a little bit more perpendicular, but as you can see, it kind of rotates. It's not exactly even. It comes up here at an angle, but over here it comes this way, so you kind of have to make just a judgment call. It's really not that big of a deal. Let's be honest, nobody's going to say no to this. That's one of my favorite bites of steak right there. The benefit of reverse sear is that you get that smoky flavor on the outside, a nice crust, and you know, it's still just pull apart tender. I mean, this is just the perfect, it's just, for me, it's one of my favorite steaks of all time. So even hard to call it a steak, I guess it's a roast. And it's so tender, it just melts right in your mouth. You get all the smoke, you get the heat from the rub. And if you do use a hot sauce like I did, it totally comes through in a flavor like this. It's so hard to beat. You've got the crispy crust on the outside. It's still nice and pink on the inside. I mean, this is still just one of my favorite ways to cook tri-tip. Should I eat this? If you've got questions, leave them in the comments below. I hope to see you guys next time. Stay around and I'll have more recipe videos and tutorials. Hit that like and subscribe and we'll see you. Cheers.